The alien Baron handed him his paralyzed daughter as a joke, yet he recognized her true potential.
The neon-lit corridors of Baron Thexacidadel cast an eerie purple hue over Jackson Reed's battlescarred armor as he stood before the alien noble, his patience running thin. The Baron's emerald skin seemed to shimmer with barely contained amusement as he reclined on his crystalline throne, flanked by guards whose trigger fingers twitched anxiously.
"My dear human," Baron Thexacidadel, his silver eyes gleaming with malice, "surely you see that these are tough times. Credits are scarce these days." Jackson clenched his jaw, his facial muscles tightening. "We had an agreement, Baron. I eliminated your little Ravager problem. Now, it's time to pay." The Baron's laughter reverberated through the chamber, sounding like shattering glass. "Oh, but I have something far more valuable than credits to offer you." He signaled to his guards, who vanished behind an ornate door. "I don't have time for games," Jackson ground. "My ship needs repairs," but the words caught in his throat as the guards reappeared, rolling in a wooden cart. On it lay one of the most stunning beings he'd ever seen. Her skin was a pale, fragile green, her long, flowing hair the shade of midnight shadows. She wore a revealing beige gown that left little to the imagination, the corset-style top emphasizing her curves in a way that made Jackson's mouth go dry. But it was her eyes that held him, the fierce, intelligent gaze, burning with barely contained fury. "Meet my daughter, Phyla," the Baron announced with dramatic flair. "She's been, shall we say, damaged since a mishap left her paralyzed from the waist down. Truly useless to me now. Maybe you'll find some use for her?" The princess's voice sliced through the air like a plasma blade. "Father, you can't silence Baron," Thix snapped. "The deal is sealed. Guards help our human friend load his new prize onto his ship." Jackson looked at the Baron, then at the furious princess. This had to be some cruel joke. But as he watched the guards roughly lift Phyla onto a hover stretcher, he realized the Baron was deadly serious. "You can't just give away your own daughter," Jackson protested, even as his mind raced with options. "The black market would pay top dollar for an alien noble, injured or not." "I think I just did," the Baron replied smoothly. "Now, unless you'd rather I have my guards escort you out empty-handed?" Jackson's hand instinctively moved toward his sidearm, but he forced it down. He wasn't foolish enough to fight through an entire citadel of armed guards. "Fine, he's bad. But this isn't finished, Baron." As he trailed the guards hauling Phyla toward his ship, he could feel her gaze fixed on him. Once they were out of earshot from the throne room, she spoke, her voice low and dangerous. "If you think I'm going to play some helpless damsel for you to sell off to the highest bidder, you're deeply mistaken, human." Jackson met her eyes, surprised by the strength in her voice. "Honestly, right now, I'm just trying to figure out how to get off this planet without ending up shot. We can talk about your future value later." A flicker appeared in her eyes. Was that amusement? Before he could figure it out, they reached his ship, the Stellar Vagrant. As the guards roughly moved Phyla into his cargo hold, Jackson couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to become a lot more complicated. The Stellar Vagrant's engines roared to life as Jackson steered the ship away from the Baron's citadel. With the cargo hold behind him transformed into a rough living space, Princess Phyla sat leaning against the wall, her elegant gown spreading out around her like flowing starlight. "You're wrong if you believe you can sell me," she said, breaking the heavy silence. Her voice had an aristocratic lilt that somehow made her threat sound even more threatening. "The black market traders you're thinking of, they're all in my father's pocket." Jackson kept his eyes on the controls, but a tightness clenched his jaw. "Reading minds now, princess?" "Please," she scoffed. "I've seen that calculating look before. But I have something far more valuable to offer than whatever price you think I'll bring." "Guess again, your eternal gratitude." He couldn't hide the sarcasm in his voice. "Information." The word lingered in the space between them. "About my father's illegal weapons deals, his dealings with the Ravagers you just fought." "Everything." Jackson finally turned to face her, studying her intently. The ship's soft lighting highlighted the faint shimmer of her pale green skin. For a brief moment, he was distracted by the rise and fall of her chest with each breath. The tight corset of her gown did little to conceal her, but he forced his gaze back to her face.
Why would you betray your own father? Thyla's laugh was edged with bitterness.
That man stopped being my father the day he decided a paralyzed daughter was worthless to his legacy. He's been trying to get rid of me for months, through marriage schemes with feeble old nobles, and then through increasingly tragic accidents. This was just his latest attempt.
And you expect me to trust you?
Jackson stepped forward, his boots echoing on the metal floor.
For all I know, this is some elaborate trap. You don't have many options. She replied, a hint of smugness rising in her voice.
Your ship's reactor is failing.
I can hear the uneven rhythm in the engine's hum.
You need credits for repairs, and my info might just be enough to buy 3 new ships. Jackson muttered a curse under his breath. She was right about the reactor. He'd been counting on the payment from her father to fix it.
Fine.
Talk.
Not yet.
Her eyes sparkled with sharpness.
First, we make a deal.
I'll share everything I know about my father's operations.
In return, you help me get into certain restricted medical facilities. There's experimental tech that could help me walk again. And why shouldn't I just squeeze the information out of you? The threat was empty, and both of them knew it.
I believe we could be beneficial to each other in quite a few ways. Jackson felt he'd flush his face and cursed his body's uncooperative response.
This alien princess was dangerous in more ways than one. Enough with that. What's enough?
Her innocence was obviously feigned, yet there was a teasing glint in her expression now.
I'm just getting settled. It's not my fault, human men are so easily distracted. You're hurt, remember? Only from the waist down.
Her voice dipped into a sultry whisper.
Everything else still works perfectly. Jackson ran a hand through his hair, trying to regain focus. Let's keep it professional. What kind of information are we discussing?
Thyla's face grew serious. Enough to take down his entire operation, shipments, corrupt officials, secret accounts, everything.
But we have to act quickly.
Once he finds out I'm actually on your side instead of being sold off, he'll send hunters.
Fantastic, just what I needed. Jackson checked their heading, plotting a course away from the Baron's territory. And those medical facilities you mentioned? On Station Nexus 9, not far, but heavily guarded. Getting inside won't be simple. It's rarely ever easy.
Despite everything, he found himself smiling. You know, Princess, you're not what I expected.
And what did you think? A helpless noble crying for help? Nothing like that. Sorry to let you down.
She didn't sound sorry at all. Oh, you're not disappointing in the slightest. The words slipped out before he could catch them. He saw her cheeks darken, probably with the alien version of a blush. A quiet, comfortable silence settled between them, only broken by the steady hum of the ship. Jackson caught himself glancing at her when he thought she wasn't looking, quietly admiring how she carried herself with dignity despite everything. We caught him once and raised an eyebrow, which made him quickly turn away. We should reach neutral space in roughly 6 hours, he said, clearing his throat, and you ought to get some rest.
Are you offering to carry me to bed, Jackson Reed?
Her tone was playful, but there was also a hint of real vulnerability beneath it. If you need help, yes, he replied, trying to sound professional.
But I get the sense you found ways to handle things on your own.
Clever of you, she said, adjusting her position with her arms, her movements graceful despite her limitations.
Still, I might take you up on that someday.
Ahead of them rose Station Nexus 9, a colossal structure of shiny metal and flickering energy fields. Jackson guided the station's drone through the docking procedures while Lila studied the station's schematics on a holographic display. The medical bay is in section K7, she said, her fingers flicking through the projection.
But there's an issue. The station's overseer was Lord Darius Krell, Jackson's grip tightening on the controls. The same Krell who managed half the illicit dealings in this sector? Exactly. Thyla's lips curled into a knowing smile. And he's been trying to land my father's weapons contracts for years. Before Jackson could say anything, the ship's comm crackled to life.
A message scrolled across the screen, a proposal to meet with Lord Krell himself, along with an offer that made Jackson's eyes go wide.
5 million credits, he whispered, just to hand you over to him.
Thyla's voice was calm and deliberate.
And are you tempted, Jackson Reed?
She turned to face him, studying her poised figure despite the rough makeshift seat she was stuck in. After these past days, he'd gotten used to her presence, to their constant banter that always seemed to hide something deeper beneath the surface.
You know what's intriguing, he said, ignoring her question.
Krell's offering exactly what your father's weapons deals are worth, almost as if he knows what information you're hiding. Very perceptive, she tidied her gown, deliberately making sure he saw the movement. Krell has spies everywhere, but he doesn't know everything. For instance, the fact that I've already sent copies of my father's data to secure locations.
If anything happens to me, it all goes public.
Her smile turned sharp. And speaking of the technology one mentioned, it's not just for fixing paralysis, it's a cutting-edge neural interface that both Krell and my father would kill to get their hands on.
Jackson ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Thylos recognized as frustration. Couldn't you have brought this up earlier? Would you have believed me?
She reached out, taking his hand as he brushed past her. Her skin felt cool against his, igniting an unanticipated shiver within him.
I needed to be certain. Certainty of what? That you're the man I believed you to be.
Her thumb traced gentle patterns on his palm. The kind who looks beyond appearances, beyond the paralyzed alien princess who's just seen as a weight. Jackson instinctively moved a step closer, pulled by something in her gaze.
And what kind of man is that?
The kind who's about to help me swipe revolutionary medical tech right from under one of the sector's most dangerous crime lords' noses. Her smile was both daring and inviting. Unless you'd rather settle for those 5 million credits, he joked, catching them both off guard. You know, princess, I'm starting to think your father was even more of a fool than I originally thought.
Oh, she raised an eyebrow elegantly.
He saw you as damaged goods, a burden meant to be thrown away. Jackson leaned in, his face close to hers. But I see potential, a mind sharp enough to outwit both your father and Krell.
The courage to risk everything for a shot at freedom and mobility. Anne.
Her breath caught slightly. And someone who makes me forget she's supposed to be a burden every time she speaks up to challenge me. A deep, emerald flush spread across her cheeks, yet her eyes gleamed with mischief.
Just as I was about to speak, don't start.
He warned, but he couldn't help but smile.
We need to focus. How do you suggest we get into that medical facility? Thyla brought up another holographic display. This one showing the station's security patterns. Krell's invitation is actually perfect. He'll expect you to either reject it or try to negotiate. But instead, you'll accept.
Meanwhile, while I navigate the maintenance tunnels to reach K7, there's a service elevator that's ideal for someone with strong upper body skills. She demonstrated by easily lifting herself with just her arms.
I'll need you to create a distraction when I reach the lab.
Jackson watched her movements, admiring both her physical capability and her strategic thinking.
And what happens when Krell realizes we've played him? By then, we'll either have succeeded or be dead.
She shrugged, the movement causing her gown to slip slightly.
But I don't think we'll fail. Such confidence. Even myself? Always. In you?
Her eyes met his, suddenly serious.
More than I expected to have in anyone. The moment stretched between them, heavy with unspoken possibilities.
Finally, Jackson cleared his throat.
We'll need supplies.
And you'll need something less conspicuous to wear.
Are you saying my royal attire isn't suitable for crawling through maintenance tunnels? She affected an exaggerated pout. And here I thought you enjoyed the view.
And says, Thyla, she corrected softly. After everything we've been through, I'd say you've earned the right to use my name, Thyla.
He tested the name, enjoying how it felt on his tongue.
We should get ready, Krell's not exactly known for his patience. No, she agreed, her expression shifting into one of thought. But then again, neither am I, especially not when I'm so close to walking again. To being able to, she trailed off, her eyes drifting over him with meaning. Jackson swallowed hard, forcing himself to focus on the mission plans. Still, a part of him wondered what it would be like to see her walk her move with the same effortless grace, even while just sitting, maybe even dance with her someday. The stolen medical tech hummed quietly in the makeshift medical bay of the Stellar Vagrant. Its neural interface glowed a gentle blue as it connected with Thela's nervous system. Jackson kept an eye on the diagnostic screens. His expression flickered between concern and curiosity. "How does it feel?" he asked, noticing the blush spreading on her pale green skin. "Strange." Thela exhaled slowly, her fingers clutching the edges of the examination table. "It's like every nerve ending is waking up all at once. I can feel my legs again, but there's something else." She paused, her eyes locking onto his with an intense gaze that took his breath away. "The neural boost appears to be affecting more than just your motor skills," Jackson observed, analyzing the readings. "Your entire sensory system seems to be heightened." "You have no idea," she whispered, reaching out for his hand. The instant their skin touched, she gasped. "Jackson, I need Doctor." Ben's notes mentioned possible side effects, he cut in, striving to stay professional despite the electricity zipping between them. This level of neural stimulation wasn't documented. "Maybe," Thela said softly, her voice rough, "he never tested it on someone like me." Or perhaps she propped herself up with surprising strength, the medical gown sticking to her now fevered skin. Maybe he'd never tested it on someone who already cared so deeply for their caretaker. Jackson swallowed hard. "Thela, you're not thinking clearly. The neural enhancement is clouding your judgment." "No," she interrupted him, her grip on his hand tightening. "It's not clouding my judgment. It's just amplifying everything I already felt, so I can't hide behind clever words or subtle glances anymore." The ship's environmental controls seemed to be acting up because the medical bay felt about 20 degrees hotter than usual. Jackson tried to concentrate on the medical readings, but Thela's presence kept pulling his attention. He knew he needed to stay focused on the integration process, and he managed to do just that. "Ensure there are no serious complications. The only real danger," Thela said, pulling herself closer with her enhanced strength, "is that if you don't kiss me soon, I might actually ignite." "That's the neural boost talking, isn't it?" She raised an eyebrow. "Then why is your heartbeat faster? Why are your pupils dilated?" "The enhancement may be intensifying my feelings, Jackson, but it didn't create them." He ran a hand through his hair, a move she now recognized as a mix of frustration and attraction. "This isn't how I wanted this to go. How did you want it to happen?" Her fingers traced patterns on his arm, each touch sending shivers through both of them. "After a proper courtship, some noble ceremony? In case you forgot, I was literally given to you as a joke." "That reminds me," he growled. "Why not? It's poetic, isn't it?" Her smile was victorious. "My father thought he was punishing both of us. Instead, he gave me exactly what I needed. Someone who saw my potential instead of my limitations. Someone who helped me become whole again." "You were never broken," Jackson said fiercely. "Paralyzed or not, you were always the most capable person I've ever met." And now, she gestured to her legs, which were beginning to respond to her commands. "Now that I can feel everything, move everything," her voice dropped to a whisper. "Now that every nerve ending in my body is screaming for your touch," Jackson groaned. "You're going to be the death of me, princess." "On the contrary," she purred, "I think I'm going to be the life of you. Now are you going to keep pretending this isn't exactly what we both want or?" She kissed her. The neural enhancement made every sensation explosive. Thela's amplified nervous system transmitted every touch, every breath, every heartbeat with startling clarity. She could feel the rough stubble on his jaw, the warmth of his skin, how his pulse quickened to match hers. When they finally parted, both gasping, Thela's eyes shimmered with a strange inner glow, an effect of the neural enhancement reacting to her heightened emotions. "Well," she said softly, voice trembling but with a grin, "that's one way to test how the system responds to stimulation. We should run more diagnostics." Jackson didn't sound very convinced. Oh, I had plans for more thorough testing, Thylas replied, her enhanced strength letting her draw him closer again. Really detailed tests, just for science, of course. He nodded, unable to hide his smile. Naturally, he agreed. But first, we need to ensure the enhancement is fully integrated. I won't put your health at risk, no matter how convincing you sound. She sighed heavily. But you should know that these readings show physical contact with you is actually helping to stabilize the neural patterns. Almost as if what? As if we were meant to be compatible. She softly touched his face. As if my father's cruel joke was really the universe's way of bringing two pieces of a puzzle together? That's quite a romantic way to see it. I'm a princess, you know, she reminded him. Romance runs in my blood, along with a strong attraction to stubborn human mercenaries who treat me like a person instead of a burden. The warning alarms on the medical equipment suddenly blared, pulling Jackson and Thyla out of their close moment. Thyla's blood readings flickered across the screens as her neural activity started to fluctuate dangerously. Null, role: assistant. The universe really has a twisted sense of humor, doesn't it? First my father hands me off as a joke, and now the tech meant to set me free ties me down to you. We need a more lasting solution. Jackson struggled to keep his professional composure despite the warmth of her body pressed against him. We can't stay like this forever. Can't we? Her voice playful, but there was a faint vulnerability underneath. Would that really be so bad? Before he could reply, the ship's proximity alarms roared to life. Several ships were closing in, their energy signatures matching both Krell's forces and Baron Thex's fleet. Perfect timing, Jackson muttered, reaching for the controls while keeping her close. Think you can handle the navigation while I take care of the weapons? Leah scoffed, her fingers gliding over the nearest console. I was flying luxury cruisers long before you started stealing them. I never stole a luxury cruiser. Really? What about the Celestial Dawn? That was a legit salvage. Their banter was cut off by the first wave of enemy fire. Jackson yanked the ship hard to port, keeping Thyla steady against him as they dodged the blasts. Their unusual close quarters actually worked in their favor. They moved together as one, predicting each other's moves with surprising accuracy. They're trying to trap us, Thyla noted, her enhanced nervous system allowing her to process tactical info at lightning speed. Krell's ships are pushing us toward my father's forces. Good, then we're not going either way. Jackson Grinder activated a series of controls with his free hand. Remember those modifications you dismissed as just unnecessary flash last week? The ones that might have blown our engine? Her eyes narrowed. Jackson, don't even think about it, he challenged. The Stellar Vagrant's engine howled as the experimental thrust modulators kicked in, propelling them through a narrow gap in the enemy formation, something that should have been impossible to pull off. Thyla's heightened reflexes were the only thing preventing them from clipping a few pursuing vessels. You're insane, she gasped, half laughing, half scared. Brilliantly, wonderfully crazy. You love it, he responded. Then he froze, realizing what he'd just said. Yes, she whispered softly, seizing a rare moment of calm to turn his face toward hers. I do. The silence between them grew heavy with unspoken meaning until another explosion shook the ship. Jackson said, reluctant, we need to find a place to lay low. He shifted his focus to their situation. Somewhere we can research a permanent fix for the stability issues with the enhancements. Thyla considered for a moment. I think I know of a place. There's a research station in the Outer Rim. It's practically abandoned, but I've heard that a group of rogue scientists still operate there. They're into experimental biotech. She smirked. Let me guess, probably not all entirely legal research. Would I know about it if it was? He asked. She nodded. Besides, they owe me a favor. I might have missed mentioning their location to my father during one of his purges. Jackson raised an eyebrow. Your father really is something, isn't he? She said, with a dry smile. In data. Though I guess I should thank him, his latest cruel joke led me to you. She leaned in closer, sighing softly as their contact helped to steady her neural readings further. Even if we need to figure out a way to make this connection permanent without relying on constant physical contact. About that, Jackson said in a rough voice. Even if we find a way to keep the enhancement stable without this, would you want to keep me around? She finished his thought, her heightened nervous system catching his increased heartbeat. Jackson Reed, are you asking if I want to formalize this arrangement? Maybe. He sounded both confident and uncertain, a combo Thyla found endlessly charming. I mean, we work well together, there's obviously attraction, and you're the only one who's ever seen me as more than just a burden or a bargaining chip, she interrupted softly. The only one who saw my potential and helped me realize it. If we manage to stabilize this enhancement without needing constant contact, I'm not leaving. Another blast shook the ship, reminding them of their chase. But first things first, Jackson said, setting a course for the outer rim. We need to shake off our pursuers and track down those scientists of yours. Our followers can definitely try to keep up, Thyla said confidently. Her hands moving perfectly in sync with his on the controls, but together, they don't stand a chance. The rogue scientist's base was a labyrinth of abandoned hallways and makeshift labs, hidden inside an asteroid on the fringe of known space. Dr. Elena Reed, the lead researcher, studied the hologram of Thyla's neural patterns with increasing intrigue. This is unprecedented, she murmured, adjusting her thick-rimmed glasses. The enhancement isn't just stable, it's actually progressing, and these hormone levels. She looked at Thyla, who was practically sitting in Jackson's lap on the examination table. Congratulations are in order, I believe. Jackson froze. What? Thyla's grip on his arm tightened, her heightened nervous system practically vibrating with excitement. I'm pregnant? Yes, Dr. Reed's smile was sincere, and it seems the pregnancy is actually helping to stabilize the neural enhancement. The fetus is acting as a natural bridge between your modified nervous system and Jackson's human biology. That's possible? Jackson asked, his mind spinning. Apparently, it's more than just possible, Dr. Reed responded. It's exactly what your body's needed. The enhancement aimed for stability through physical touch, but the pregnancy creates a lasting biological bond that fulfills those needs. Thyla shifted in Jackson's arms, her skin nearly radiant with a mix of happiness and heightened desire. That explains the increased craving for contact, Dr. Reed nodded clinically. The pregnancy is boosting the enhancement's impact on your hormones. You'll need regular close contact with Jackson to stay stable. Think of it as a kind of prescribed therapy. Doctor's orders? Thyla's voice sounded innocent, but her eyes twinkled with mischief as she felt Jackson's pulse quicken. Exactly. Dr. Reed started collecting data on the tablets. I'll need to do more tests, but suddenly, the facility's security alarm blared loudly. Null, role: assistant. Why do I get the feeling I won't like this? She grinned, tugging him toward the ship. Because you're still learning, she said gently. But you'll go through with it, because you love me. Not so obvious, huh? As obvious as the fact that I'm carrying your child, her expression softened. Our child, a perfect mix of human and alien potential. They reached the stellar drifter just as the first explosion rocked the station. Once inside, Thyla quickly accessed the ship's comms system. What are you doing? Jackson asked, still holding their close contact as they prepared to launch. Broadcasting, her fingers danced over the controls. To everyone, the truth about my father's weapons deals, Krell's, covert operations, and most importantly, proof that humans and aliens can create something beautiful together. You're planning a social revolution while we're trying to escape? Why not? Her eyes sparkled with resolve. My father thought I was useless because I was paralyzed. Krell saw me only as a bargaining tool. But you recognized my potential. Now it's time for everyone else to see it too. The ship took off just as the first enemy ships emerged from the asteroid field. Jackson skillfully darted between the debris, while Thyla managed communications and shields, their movements perfectly coordinated through constant contact. You know, Jackson said as they dodged another attack. When I accepted you as payment for that job, I never thought I'd end up starting a family in a revolution. Disappointed? Thyla asked, though her heightened senses revealed exactly how he truly felt. He corrected, pulling her closer as they dove into hyperspace. Though we should probably talk about wedding plans soon. I mean, if you're into it, Jackson Reed, she interrupted, turning to face him with a playful smile. I'm carrying your baby. I literally can't function right without your touch. And I'm about to topple my father's corrupt regime with you. I think we're beyond traditional dating now. So, is that a yes? It's a, you're stuck with me for good. You amazing person who saw past my flaws and gave me everything I never realized I needed. I can live with that. He grinned but then tensed as another alarm blared. But first, we've got to handle that fleet of ships chasing us. Thyla already finished adjusting their shields. Please, they don't stand a chance against us now. We're no longer fighting just for ourselves. Our hand briefly pressed against our stomach before returning to the controls. We're fighting for a future where no one is considered a burden, where potential isn't hindered by prejudice or disability. A future a child can be proud of, Jackson agreed, and together they turn to face whatever challenges come next. Their bonds are stronger than ever. The Stellar Vagrant's communication array hummed non-stop with incoming messages. Thyla's broadcast had resonated across the sector, prompting responses from others who had experienced similar discrimination and those inspired by their story. Another resistance cell just reached out. Thyla, from her position in Jackson's lap, announced as her fingers moved across the holographic interface. Former military discharged for various defects and they want to help. Jackson nuzzled her neck, partly out of affection and partly because their constant need for contact had made such intimacy as natural as breathing. Her father's going to regret throwing away so many capable people. He already does, she purred, leaning back against him as waves of pleasure rippled through her enhanced nervous system. Our latest intelligence suggests, she gasped suddenly, her body tensing. The Thyla, Jackson's concern turned to amazement as the ship's sensors began registering unprecedented energy readings emanating from her body. The neural enhancement amplified by her pregnancy hormones had begun manifesting in unexpected ways. The holographic displays around them responded to her thoughts. Data streamed faster than it ever should have. Her pale green skin shimmered with an inner glow, and her eyes burned with a new intensity. I can feel everything, she whispered. The ship's systems, the surrounding space, Jackson, I think I can sense the pursuers' movements before they happen. She held herself closer, grounding herself as her powers grew. The pregnancy must be speeding up her development. Dr. Reed's data hinted it might, but not this quickly. It's no longer just the enhancement. Thyla guided his hand to her slightly swollen belly. Our child, I can feel their consciousness blending with the technology, forging something entirely new. The perfect fusion of human adaptability and alien potential. An alarm blared loudly. Baron Thex's flagship had just come out of hyperspace, leading a squadron of warships. Perfect timing for a quick test, Jackson remarked, but Thyla was already in motion. Through their constant physical link, he sensed glimpses of her newfound powers, the way she saw space as something flexible. How she could anticipate their paths and intentions through a strange combination of heightened neural speed and instinct. The drifting starship moved like a living creature under her control, dodging the first wave of fire with ease. But instead of fleeing, Thyla did something surprising. She extended her abilities, reaching into the enemy ship's systems. What are you doing? Jackson asked, captivated. Showing them what they need to see? Her voice had a dreamlike quality. The reality of what happens when you underestimate those you deem broken. The enemy fleet's weapons shut off as their crews watched data stream onto their screens. Evidence of Baron Thex's crimes, proof of his betrayal of his people, and, most notably, medical scans of the miraculous growth of Thyla and Jackson's child. They're backing down, Jackson noted, astonished. All but your father's flagship. Naturally, Thyla smiled, though her tone was steady. He's too proud to admit he was wrong. Me about humans, about everything, the Baron's voice crackled through the common system. You dare turn my own fleet against me. You're just a cripple I should have gotten rid of years ago. No father, Phyla replied, her enhanced abilities transmitting her words directly into every ship's comm system. I am what happens when someone chooses potential over weakness. When love replaces cruelty, when a joke becomes a miracle. She turned to Jackson, her eyes glowing with power and longing. I need you, she whispered. The baby, the enhancements. Everything grows stronger when we're fully connected. He understood instantly, pulling her into a fervent kiss that sent waves of energy rippling through the ship's systems. Their bond, both physical and emotional, pushed her abilities even further. I knew it. Phyla's smile was sharp as a blade. Because Jackson realized, I've done my homework on you. You're many things, mercenary, smuggler, occasional hero for the oppressed. But you're not that kind of monster. She shifted slightly, the movement causing her gown to slip lower off one shoulder. Through their bond, they experienced what came next together. Phyla reached out with her heightened awareness, backed by Jackson's steady presence, and simply shut down her father's ship. Every system, every weapon, every engine, all halted with a single thought. The Baron's voice was barely a whisper. No, Phyla interrupted him. Potential, the very thing you never saw in me, the thing Jackson recognized from the beginning. As the Allied ships they'd contacted over the past weeks emerged from hyperspace, encircling the now-disabled flagship, their arrival was clearly no coincidence. Phyla had orchestrated everything through her enhanced abilities. It's over, Father, she declared. Your era of cruelty ends today, and a new chapter begins, one where no one is discarded, where differences are embraced, and where jokes shape destiny. Jackson held her close, astonished at how the woman he once saw as a burden had become the most powerful catalyst for change the sector had ever known. I love you, he whispered against her skin, feeling their bond's energy pulse in response. I know, she replied with a smile that was both victorious and seductive. Now take me to our quarters. This pregnant, enhanced, formerly paralyzed princess needs some private time with her human before we finish revolutionizing the sector. The interrogation of Baron Thex uncovered a truth darker than anyone had guessed. The weapons deals, the discrimination against the imperfect, it was all part of a grander scheme orchestrated by an ancient alien council called the Purity Directive. They've been pulling strings behind societies for centuries. Phyla told the gathered resistance leaders, her enhanced senses allowing her to unravel the intricate web of conspiracy, even as she kept physical contact with Jackson, maintaining the separation of species, fostering genetic purity, and preventing the very unions that had led to all this. She gestured to her now visible belly, where their child's presence had transformed her neural enhancements into something extraordinary. The directive believes mixing species weakens them, Jackson added, his arm wrapped protectively around Phyla. They never thought it might make them stronger. The final showdown unfolded deep within the hidden station of the directives. Phyla, nearly 8 months pregnant, stood beside Jackson in the control room, their connection boosting her powers to levels that even the ancient aliens paused to observe. Do you think you can challenge millennia of deliberate genetic engineering? The leader of the directives, a being of pure energy, demanded. No, Phyla answered, her skin shining with power as Jackson kept her steady. We're here to prove you wrong, just watch. Using her enhanced abilities, she revealed everything more than data, she shared experience. The moment Jackson first saw her potential, beyond her paralysis, the way their love had turned a harsh joke into a miracle, the perfect fusion of human resilience and alien progress growing inside her. Impossible, the leader whispered, just as my father had said. Phyla smiled. Before we showed him a better way, the confrontation wasn't fought with weapons but with the truth. Phyla and Jackson, their bond stronger than ever, used their connection to broadcast reality across the galaxy. Centuries of deception unraveled, the beauty of diversity uncovered, and the strength in recognizing potential where others saw only limits. The power of the directives disintegrated not through violence but through understanding. Species long kept apart for generations began to reach out. Those once labeled as imperfect found their unique qualities celebrated instead of rejected. A month later, at the freshly established Unity Medical Center that had once been in Baron Thexacidadel, Phyla went into labor. The enhancement is going haywire, she gasped, holding onto Jackson as waves of sensation flooded her overclocked nervous system. I can feel everything. Focus on me, he whispered, their years of constant physical contact deepening their connection more than ever. As always, the birth itself was a miracle that drew spectators from across the galaxy.
When their child came into the world, Thyla's neural enhancement pulsed with unmatched intensity, affecting every monitoring system in the facility. Their daughter was perfect, pale green skin like her mother's, dark hair from her father, and eyes that seemed to carry the wisdom of both species. As soon as she was cradled in Thyla's arms with Jackson holding them both, every device in the room reacted to her presence. She's beautiful, Jackson murmured, observing their daughter already showing early signs of enhanced neural skills and human adaptability. She's hope, Thyla corrected, her own powers resonating with their child's, living proof that true potential lies in embracing differences rather than fearing them. Baron Thex, now reformed and working to undo his past wrongs, was allowed to meet his granddaughter. The instant he saw her, his old prejudices vanished completely. I was such a fool, he confessed, watching the baby begin to control nearby systems with a mere thought. I discarded my greatest treasure as a joke, never realizing it could lead to something extraordinary. That's in the past, Thyla said firmly, leaning into Jackson's embrace as their daughter revealed talents neither species had ever displayed before.
The future is about recognizing potential everywhere, in everyone. As if understanding, their daughter reached out with both her tiny hand and her emerging powers. Touching her grandfather's heart in more ways than one, the story of the paralyzed princess and the human who believed in her became legendary, taught in schools across the galaxy as the turning point that changed everything. Species began mingling openly, embracing their differences instead of fearing them. That love recognizes potential where others see trouble, and that sometimes the cruelest twists of fate can lead to the most extraordinary beginnings. One evening, Jackson said, watching their daughter showcase yet another incredible mix of human and alien skills, I never actually got paid for that first job. Thyla chuckled, pulling him into a kiss that sent tingling waves through their upgraded nerves. No, my love, you got something much better. Everything, he whispered, pulling his family close, I got it all.